Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Akram and you're watching Knowledge 360. In the previous videos, we had covered the topic of DML statements, that is insert, update and delete in PostgreSQL database. And in this video, we'll discuss about returning modified rows in PostgreSQL database. So PostgreSQL provides an optional returning clause where we can check the data that are affected by the insert, update, delete and merge commands. So the useful of this returning clause is that we do not need to fire an extra select query to verify that if the changes are made or not. We'll see all of these examples how we can apply it, the returning clause, and in the previous videos we had applied it on insert, update and delete, and in this video we'll see them in details. So the first example is for insert with returning. So for that, let's create a table called users. So we have created the table and let's insert data into the table, and here we are mentioning that returning ID. So that means insert query will return the ID, that is the new ID is generated through this insert statement. So here it is written that the ID that is generated through this insert statement is 1, and similarly we can return all the columns or we can mention the selective columns separated by comma, just like in the select query we do. Let's do insert two more records into the table called users. So here we insert two more data into the table, and here we can see that entire data that are affected, and we can see it using the returning clause. So this way we do not need to fire another select query to see the data that are affected through this insert. So now let's see an example of update with returning clause. So for that, let's create a table called products. The table is created, and now let's insert some data into the products table. Three records are inserted, and now let's perform an update on the products table. And in the returning, as I had already explained, that we can mention only one column or we can mention selective columns separated by comma, that we do usually in the select statement, or we can mention the asterisk so that it will return all the columns. So in this case we are mentioning two columns, name and price, and also we can give the alias to the returning column names. So let's do this update and see the affected rows returned through the returning clause. So here we can see that these are the records that are affected, and here we can see that name and the new price are returned. Now let's see an example of delete statement. So for delete statement, we'll use the products table and we'll use the returning clause. So even if the data is deleted, that will still return the data in the delete statement if we use the returning clause. So in this case I'm using returning and asterisk so that it will return the entire row, that we can see that okay, this row was deleted once I fire this delete statement. So for that delete statement we have condition where price is greater than equal to 80. So for that we can see that this record satisfies the data. So let's try to delete the product. Now we have deleted the data, and we can see that this particular data was deleted from the table, and if we want to verify we can check the data from the table. Now let's see an example of merge statement with a returning clause. So for that, let's say we create a table called new products and we insert some data into the table called new products. And now let's perform the merge operation into the products table, and we'll use the new product. So that means we are merging data from new product table to the original products table, and it is based on the product ID. So that means if the product ID is already existing in the products table, that will be merged with the data. So when product ID matches, what will happen? It will update the name and the price that is coming from the new products table. And if it is not matched, that means the data is not already present in the products table with the same ID. For example, the ID 15, we know in the products table with this ID data is not existed. This will insert into the product table, and at the end we have mentioned the returning p dot asterisk. That means it will return the data affected in the products table. So let's perform this merge statement. Merge is done, and we can see that two records are affected. One is the book record was updated because we know with the ID 1 we had already a data in product table, so it was updated, and one new record was inserted with product ID 15 for eraser. So this is how we can perform the merge with the returning clause. So now let's see an example with triggers and returning clause. So for that, let's create a trigger function. So the trigger function is created now, and we can see in the trigger function what we are doing. If the data is coming with the price value null, so the new price value will be assigned, that is 20. So this is a way how we can supply the default value if the default value is not declared in the create table statement. So the function is created. Now let's create the trigger. The trigger is on the products table, and it is a before insert trigger. So the trigger is created, and now let's perform the insert into the product. So as per this, if the price value is null, our trigger will be fired and the new price value will be added, that is from the trigger, which is 20. So let's insert this data into the table. So here we have added one record into the products table with product ID 4, and here we can see that the price was taken from the trigger function, that is 20. And I have explained about triggers in very details in another video. I'll provide the link in the video description to check that video for trigger functions. So in this video we saw that returning clause with returning asterisk can be replaced by specific column names, that is the list of columns to limit the output, and where we can mention the column alias names as well. And returning clause is efficient as it avoids running separate select statements after we perform any DML operations in PostgreSQL database, and it works seamlessly with expressions, aliases and trigger functions as well. This was all about returning clause in PostgreSQL database in case of DML statements. So if the video was helpful, do like the video and subscribe the channel to get the notifications for upcoming videos. And in the next video, we'll start a new topic, that is table expressions in PostgreSQL database, where we'll cover the topic of the from clause. So let's meet in the next video. Till then, take care. Bye bye.